Hey everyone, this is Lupine Fiasco back again with another gameplay video. We've got FaB, Rising Rebellion, as always. Today we will be playing against the newest rune blade, Vynnset, Iron Maiden. This is one of my first games against Vynnset, so I haven't played many against her since then. The sideboard plan is what I'm doing for all rune blades until Vynnset can prove I need to switch it up, which is running with a standard equipment loadout. I am boarding out my Rise from the Ashes, both of them, and bringing in 2 Command and Conquers. I don't think Command and Conquer is particularly better against Vynnset or any rune blade than in any other matchup, but for rune blade, ranger, and warrior sometimes, the matchups where I'm really looking to get value out of Warmonger's diplomacy, I just don't want to run into a situation where I have dead cards. So here we have a wonky hand. I would love to play this Flame Call Awakening, get my Phoenix Flame, and get the value early. But to do that, I would have to break Snapdragon Scalers on a Lava Vein loyalty, which is really not where I want to be. So if I'm looking at this hand now, thinking about how I can get to 6 links on a chain in order to threaten 2 mask triggers, we really can't, right? We can pitch Lava Vein loyalty for 2 Kodachis. The 3rd resource would play Flame Call Awakening. That's the first mask threat. We can then play Lava Vein Loyalty, but we don't have a resource available to get the Phoenix Flame and play Salt Balloon. So that all being the case, unless I'm going to snap Lava Vein Loyalty, which would get me even a 7th chain link, we're just going to play a value game here. Look at Kodachi Flame Call, Lava Vein Loyalty, based on if my opponent is blocking or not, play Salt the Wound and just pass with no arsenal. It isn't ideal, but I don't like breaking Snapdragons on turn 1 for what would end up being 2 points of value, since we're getting our Shuko trigger in there. So not a particularly exciting turn 1, but you know, they can't all be winners. Even FaB's consistency falls apart sometimes, and we get just a medium hand. Fire off the Lava Vein Loyalty. So there is merit to taking this line. We are just trying to put pressure on Vynnset early. Again, if I was making this call now, I would not do this, but as it is, we now play Lava Vein Loyalty, follow up with Kodachi, follow up with Flame Call Awakening, which is our first link, which gets us a Phoenix Flame, which gets us another Phoenix Flame, which gets Salt Wound. Here we are going to vary that a bit based on the first chain link being blocked out. Send a Kodachi, send another Kodachi, then play Flame Call. We are still getting blocks from our opponent. Here they're going to have to block the Flame Call, and then they're going to have to block either Salt the Wound or one of the Phoenix Flames earlier in the chain. Which, if they do that, we would just arsenal probably a Phoenix Flame at this point. But we'll see how this shakes out. Play another Sigil of Suffering. So opponent was definitely prepared for this line of play. This reinforces that using snaps here was not correct. That if we had just played cards out, our opponent is looking like they might have had a bit of a stinker of a turn on their end as well. So hoping this Phoenix Flame hits. Vynnset and Runeblades generally now just have such great armor. Didactic Carapace being their Flamescale Furnace is really just makes this matchup so much better for them. So here, if I'm making this call now, I would Arsenal Salt the Wound. I choose to play it just to put pressure on Vynnset. I don't agree with this call. I think this is wrong, especially without Snapdragons. Now, there is an argument to playing Salt the Wound because we don't have Snapdragons, that we don't want to leave a finisher in our arsenal with a hand like this, where we have Assault in Arsenal, we have a Lava Burst in hand, we are unable to double finisher, which means that we don't have anything to do with this Lava Burst. The opponent plays Mavrian Skies and follows up with Deathly Wail. So we take our 3 from the Rune Chants. We are now looking at 6 that would create 1 Rune Chant. I don't believe Vynnset has taken damage this turn. With nothing in Vynnset's hand or Banish Zone, and with our hand looking pretty good, this is going to be 9, 10, 17 points of damage. We're happy to give our opponent the Mavrian trigger here as opposed to trying to block differently. So interesting call here. Blocking the Flail with Furnace is correct. We don't want to give Vynnset a Rune Chant, especially with them having no Rune Chant and nothing they can play in their Banish Zone. So we pass blocks, ask to undo. Opponent also realizes, hey, maybe we can just sit on these Rune Chants. We don't need to just throw them for damage. So it's a wash. But in that decision, if the Flail is coming, especially if opponent has no Rune Chants, which they wouldn't because they just attacked with Flail, if we have armor available or even an extra card from hand, block the Flail. Take them off of a potential creepers into Read the Runes or Funeral Moon to give them a Rune Chant. They take damage from something, play the Funeral Moon. Vynnset has a lot of trouble doing something with 1 Rune Chant, but with 2 Rune Chants, she can do a lot better. So here we're just looking to push some damage. Phoenix Flame is the first half of Shuko, Lava Burst is the second. We aren't getting a Mask trigger here, but we are just able to push 6 damage. Opponent gave us some armor, which will be helpful later. Give me 1 minute here. The joys of being a cat hunter. Lava Burst for 6. We are just on the damage plan here. With only 5 lamps, there's no great way to get value out of that turn, to get a second Mask trigger. This hand is kind of awkward on our end. Situation, we can see if this Command and Conquer was Rise from the Ashes, it would be much better, but that's neither here nor there. Shadow Puppetry into this one. You can tell how much I know all of Vynnset's cards. We take the damage. There's no on-hit in particular to block here. Something to know about Vynnset that I'm learning myself through these games is all of Vynnset's abilities deal with whether a player is taking damage, not whether an attack hits. So, that is to say, Rune Chant damage turns on Widespread Destruction, Annihilation, the other one. If they just send 6 with no Rune Chants, but it has Go again, the Flail would then come in and trigger the if a player has lost life this combat chain. So let's take a look at this hand before anything happens. Mounting Anger, Command and Conquer, Rising Resentment is an awkward series of cards. We have a few lines that we could take. We could pitch Command and Conquer to Mounting Anger send 4, hope to get some kind of block, play Rising Resentment and hope it hits, which would banish our second Mounting Anger, now that we have 2 Draconic Links on the chain. Play the second Mounting Anger, 3 Draconic Links, activate 5 for free, pick up a Phoenix Flame, and that threatens Mask Trigger. It seems unlikely that our opponent would let the Rising Resentment hit. They have 4 cards in hand, 1 card in arsenal, and a ton of armor available. So what we're looking at doing here, knowing that we cannot easily get a Mask Trigger, I should say efficiently get a Mask Trigger. We could get one, but really at what cost? What I'm looking at doing here, well, at what cost would be pitch Rising Resentment, play Mounting Anger, pitch Command and Conquer to Furnace, Kodachi Mounting Anger, 4/1/4, give our opponent a million ways to stop the Mask Trigger, and then just pass. We've dealt 9 damage with no relevant on hits. What we're looking to do instead, we're not threatening Mask, but we are just going to get value. So we can pitch Rising Resentment to play a Mounting Anger, then pitch the second Mounting Anger to Furnace, generate 2 resources, and play Command and Conquer. We know our opponent has probably 1 more Sigil somewhere in this deck, so if we can catch that in their arsenal, opponent has to block. If opponent has a great hand and doesn't want to block, it's possible that we get their arsenal for free. We are just looking to get 10 damage here. No on-hits besides Command and Conquer, no Mask Trigger, but that can happen with an all-red hand. And this is what we choose to do. Based on the opponent's armor situation, you might get a card from hand, which is going to make it harder for them to then block again when we throw this Command and Conquer. We can look at opponent's Banish Zone. They have no Rune Gate cards, so it's possible they have one in their hand, but at least for now, we can't put them on being able to effectively use their hand if they are card down. An opponent can just play Crown of Providence. That happens too. Even with that being the case, I believe this line is correct. Just push 10 points of damage and hope for the best. Now I can't click on my graveyard. This is a replay that I'm casting, but I'm 90% sure there's a Phoenix Flame in the graveyard, which sets us up very well. We threaten our Mask Trigger here. Ronin Renegade, Lava Vein Loyalty, Brand with Cinderclaw gets a block from our opponent. Card from hand, and probably Carapace. It lets us pick up a Phoenix Flame, and then E-Strike for either 5 draw a card or 7, depending on how much damage the opponent has taken here. Deathly Whale. For 8, I believe it makes a Rune Champ. At the close of the chain, we're just looking to mitigate life loss here. Shuko is 2 points of value at this point in the game. With the hand we're looking at, we will not get a Shuko trigger out of this hand. Or if we do, it would be extremely unlikely. So we just look to get our 2 value. The game isn't going to go long enough that we would be able to outvalue the block. We're just mitigating life loss. We're still in the same plan. Opponent blocks our first link, which is nice, and takes the second. So this is link 1 of our mask. Send Brand, pick up Phoenix Flame, send E-Strike for 7. Snatch for 7 is very good. If this gets blocked, we are looking to send 5, draw a card, and arsenal. Without snaps, a mystery card in our arsenal is a bit dangerous, but if we remember, our deck is still primarily 0 cost go again. So unlike Katsu, our ninja brother, mystery card from our deck is a lot better because most of our cards do the same thing. The opponent doesn't block. We pick up our Phoenix Flame. We're sending 7 anyway because it threatens lethal, but threatening a mask on hit is also very great value. There's an argument for drawing a card because opponent is incentivized to block this out in its entirety because if they don't, they die. That being said, something I am looking about Vynnset as well, she plays a lot of 2 blocks, which is really great news. Here we see a hand that would be benefited greatly by having Snapdragon available. As it is, we don't. So we have to figure out how to make this work without snaps. We have an Art of War and we have Furnace. So we can play the Art of War, pitch a Snatch, banish a Blaze Headlong, keep our Brand with Cinder Claw. Draw 2 cards. If we draw 2 more head jabs, that's great value. If we draw 2 1-costs, we can pitch to Furnace. We can also choose not to play Art of War here and just send Brand, Blaze Headlong, Snatch. That is going to get a few cards out of our opponent, at least 1. Brand puts them to 4. Snatch and Blaze are both lethal in that case. So getting 2 cards from our opponent, they have their 2 Rune Chants, but they still don't have anything with Rune Gate in the Banish. So if I'm making this call now, I do like just sending Brand, Blaze, Snatch. It's 11 points of damage. Arsenal the Art of War. We have 8 life plus 3 armor, so we can take a hit. We would also have a 5-card hand. Art of War is doable off of 4, and a little hesitant off of 3, but with no blue to really get a good Art of War turn here, and on a 4-card hand, we'll just Arsenal it. Depending on how blocks shake out, if opponent leaves himself at 1, there is a world where we would pitch Snatch to Kodachi, activate FaB to pick up Phoenix Flame, then Kodachi again. It isn't an efficient and really a good use of Art of War. Ideally, we want to get good value out of it, but sometimes you just push lethal. Here, opponent blocks 4, so we are not going to do any kind of Phoenix Flame, Snatch line. Let's just send Snatch, take another card from opponent, Arsenal the Art of War, and try to get something going next turn. Get 2 cards from opponent. It's possible that they play the Funeral Moon here, so they'll get their Rune Chant, either looking to Arsenal this card in their hand. Well, they wouldn't be able to because of Vynnset. So they do banish something with Rune Gate. We're taking 4 Rune Chant damage here, followed up by just 4. Because we can block our 3, there are no on-hits or damage at the end of the chain, so we're just blocking with our armor. We're going to 3, and then we're going to kill our opponent with an Art of War. Here we are playing out our double strike. We'll banish our Ravenous Rabble, keep the Blaze, which is guaranteed damage. Yep. That's the line, and we're just going wide enough that Vynnset will not be able to block everything. I believe the hesitation there was due with Kodachi's, but it doesn't matter. Here we have a lot of options. It really doesn't matter at this point if we kill them with Lava Burst or Enlightened Strike. This gets a block. The second Kodachi will get a block. this will get 2 cards out of our opponent. We can either E-Strike for 8 or Lava Burst for 6. If we're playing with the mindset of let's do it well here so that it goes better later, we're going to Kadachi twice. That gets the last card out of their hand. Oh, look at me getting tricksy. Pick up the Phoenix Flame, E-Strike for 6 with Go again, Lava Burst. And that is fine into Vynnset. I've got a few more of these matches in the cooker, ready to make some videos out of. For this matchup, generally, I do think it's just a no-block race. There is a combo Vynnset. I believe that it's even worse into FaB. Otherwise, this is just a mid-range deck that does not present the disruption that Guardian does. There's no blocks, send it.